Welcome back. This is episode 9 of the On-Site podcast. So, to bring you right back into the story, our author has been in Pensacola for a couple of months now.
Right. Yeah. He's moved in with his colleague, Mickey, and Mickey's wife, Sarah.
Exactly. And as you heard in the previous deep dives, he's been kind of navigating these hilarious early culture shocks, figuring out those massive gas stations, fast food joints, the household appliances.
All those daily survival mechanics, yeah.
But today, we're shifting gears. Today, we're looking at how that kind of polite, formal boundary you usually have between a landlord and a tenant just completely dissolves into a genuine friendship.
It really does. It's a fascinating shift in the dynamic.
We're taking you from, well, neon-lit pool halls all the way to a deeply unexpected experience inside a Southern Baptist church. All of it seen straight through our author's culturally shocked perspective.
I mean, the contrast there is just amazing.
It is. So let's start right in Mickey and Sarah's living room. Usually when you live with your landlord, it's pretty rigid. You pay rent, you give a polite nod in the kitchen, and you stay out of their way.
Right. You definitely don't want to intrude.
But in this house, that invisible boundary just wasn't there. Mickey was asking all these really genuine, judgment-free questions about the author's life back in India.
He was curious. He wanted to know about Indian dietary traditions and the family structures. It was a very reciprocal exchange, which is so refreshing. It wasn't just the immigrant having to adapt and explain.
Exactly. And the author was just as fascinated by Mickey and Sarah. Actually, he asked them a really simple question, just, how did you two meet?
Oh, yeah.
And he expects a standard love story, but hearing their answer basically shatters his entire cultural paradigm.
Because if you look at the author's background in India at the time, arranged marriages were the overwhelming norm.
Right.
The whole concept of marriage was orchestrated by the extended family. It was about family consensus and social alignment.
The collective family makes the call. So hearing that Mickey and Sarah just chose each other based on personal compatibility, that American paradigm of individual choice was totally fresh to him.
It really highlights his culture shock. He's seeing a completely different blueprint for building a life.
Yeah, and that curiosity soon moves out of the living room. Mickey decides to introduce him to a classic arena of American male bonding. He takes him to a local sports bar and pool hall.
Oh, wow. First time in a place like that.
First time. And for you listening, you probably don't think twice about a sports bar. But put yourself in his shoes. He walks in, and it's just this sensory overload. The buzzing neon signs, the hanging lights over the tables, the smell of chalk dust, the clicking of the billiard balls.
I love how rawly honest he is about this moment, though.
Yeah.
Because he admits he was deeply intimidated.
Yeah, he didn't drink alcohol.
Right. And in a space built around drinking culture, if you aren't partaking, you feel like you're breaking some unspoken rule, like you're a liability to the group.
But Mickey is just a master of hospitality here. He explicitly tells the author, hey, you can just nurse a soda. You don't need a beer to hang out with us.
Which is such a simple gesture, but it completely removes the pressure.
It really does. It's almost like, it's like learning the geometry of the pool game itself. Mickey shows him how to bridge his fingers, how to calculate the angles on the felt. And that physical lesson in the geometry of pool became a comfortable, lighthearted classroom for the geometry of American social life.
That's a great way to look at it. What could have been a huge social barrier just turned into a fun hangout.
Totally. And that competitive energy eventually shifts from the pool hall back to the living room. Keep in mind, this is the mid-2000s.
Oh, the golden era of the Xbox.
Yes. Mickey's living room has an Xbox, and they are heavily into the game Halo.
This part is so funny because you have to remember the author's technological leap here. In India, he was used to PC games. Sitting at a cramped monitor playing Doom or Duke Nukem with a keyboard.
Right, very different mechanics.
Going from that to a massive television screen, using a dual joystick controller, and experiencing the fluid mechanics of console gaming, it was a huge jump.
And he is so transparent about the fact that he was absolutely terrible at it.
Oh, just awful.
Mickey's church friends would come over, and they were lightning-fast pros at capture the flag, and our author is just wandering straight into enemy lines, completely sabotaging the team's score.
Which normally, in gaming culture, gets you yelled at.
Oh, gamers are ruthless. But that's the beautiful part of this. They don't sideline him. Instead of getting frustrated, the group just absorbs him. They laugh off his mistakes. They cheer wildly when he actually manages to do something right.
It's radical social acceptance.
Exactly. They completely bypassed the cultural barriers. It was just a shared low-stakes environment.
And feeling that level of comfort naturally led to him being curious about the rest of their lives. which brings up the church.
Right, so he notices religion is a huge part of Mickey's life, and he asks if he can tag along to a Sunday service. But immediately after asking, he has this moment of internal panic.
Oh, I felt so bad for him there. He was terrified he had accidentally misled them into thinking he wanted to convert.
Yes. He was so worried about the unspoken rules. But Mickey was great about it. He understood the author was just being a cultural observer. He just wanted to see what their world was like.
So they go to the Southern Baptist Church, and the culture shock hits before he even walks inside.
The building itself.
Yeah, because his baseline for Christianity back in India was deeply traditional. Ornate Catholic schools, Gothic architecture, Latin verses,
Yeah.
towering spaces that make you feel small.
And he pulls up to this place, and it looks like a modern commercial building.
Right.
Inside, it's basically a contemporary auditorium. They've got these massive projection screens. And then the pastor steps up to speak, and the author realizes, wait, I know that guy.
It's his buddy, the guy from the Halo matches in the living room.
Which is just a wonderful surprise.
Yeah.
The hierarchy is instantly gone. The sermon is conversational, totally informal. But the biggest shock comes when the music starts.
Oh, the Christian rock band.
Yeah. Electric guitars, driving drums, and everyone in the congregation is standing up, raising their hands, swaying to the music. Now, coming from his background, you'd think he'd find that jarring.
But he makes this incredible internal connection instead. He looks around and realizes that this enthusiastic communal energy people swaying their hands, it was the exact cultural equivalent of bhajans.
The passionate devotion in Indian temples.
Exactly. It was the same human expression, just translated into a completely different Western musical language.
I love that he could see past the electric guitars and recognize the universal feeling there. Now, he only attended that one official Sunday sermon, but he actually ended up going back to that building quite a bit, just not for worship.
Right, on Saturday afternoons.
Yes. Because the pastor was part of their gaming circle, they would lug the Xbox over to the church, hook it directly into those stadium-sized presentation screens, and play Halo.
Playing a first-person shooter in the sanctuary.
Can you imagine? The booming auditorium audio, the cinematic intensity, and the often struggles with this at first, right? Yeah.
He really does. In India, places of worship are spaces of absolute solemnity. They are sacred. So, playing a frantic video game on church screens felt almost sacrilegious to him initially.
Right. Feels like a violation of the space.
But then he realizes something fascinating about the American concept of community. It's incredibly adaptive. The church wasn't just a monument, it was a living community center.
Yeah, they used the physical space to keep people bonded, which leads him to discover this specific role in the church hierarchy that totally blew his mind. The youth pastor.
Which didn't exist in his cultural framework at all.
Not at all. He learns that this guy's entire job is to creatively keep the younger population engaged and loyal to the congregation. It's a deliberate, programmatic approach to community building.
It's structural engagement. It was fascinating to him because it's so different from relying purely on family tradition to keep people involved.
And that structural engagement brings us right back to Mickey and Sarah's living room. They start hosting a weekly Bible study for the young adult group.
And our author is there for it.
He is. At first, he's just sitting on the fringes, acting as a silent observer, just taking it all in. But slowly, the welcoming vibe of the room draws him in. And then, the youth pastor looks at him and asks him directly if he believes in evolution.
Oh, man. That is a heavy loaded question to be asked in the living room of your Southern Baptist landlord.
It's the ultimate landmine, but the author is honest. He just says, I do.
And you hold your breath reading it, expecting this huge argument.
But it doesn't happen. What follows is this incredibly healthy, fiery, intellectual discussion between creationism and evolution.
There was zero tension, zero awkwardness.
None. And the author brings his own cultural lens to it, which I thought was brilliant. He points out the profound structural similarities between their text and his own background, like comparing the origin story of Moses in Egypt to the origin story of Krishna in Indian mythology.
Oh, right. The hidden infancy, the protection from tyrants, the divine destiny. He maps it all out for them.
And no one is trying to force a mindset change on anyone else, just deep mutual respect. They genuinely wanted to view the world through each other's lenses.
It's really the culmination of all those earlier moments.
It is. And as we wrap up today's deep dive, I think that's the true value of these events. It wasn't just about the author learning to shoot pool or understanding a video game or figuring out American churches. It was about him finding his vocal freedom.
Absolutely.
He learned that he had the absolute freedom to stand firmly in his own beliefs without the fear of alienating these new friends. He was just deeply grateful for the open-minded people anchoring his transition.
And it leaves you with a really provocative thought to mull over. How often do you miss out on a profound connection because you assume a boundary, whether it's a landlord lease or a religious difference, is a solid wall rather than a door waiting to be opened?
That is a perfect thought to leave off on. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we will see you on the next deep dive.
Catch you later.